Welcome to NewBZooPodcast. On today's episode, I have an amazing interview with a rock star of a real estate investor. His name is Andy Rong. He's 18 years old, and he is just doing amazing things. You're going to want to listen to this. I hope you enjoy it. I've noticed that there's a lot of new people that come in, and they really have no direction whatsoever. And there's so much information that they can get that it's just analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
And so when I hear of people like you, which, when I heard you on Wholesale Hotline, that interview was amazing to me. And I text you right away, right? I was like, hey, I got a deal for you. Let's do this, right?
Oh my gosh, I remember this. Yeah, you texted me. It was I don't know if it was To the Moon, I think. It was a To the Moon podcast with Jamil, and you hit me. And you were like, I have this deal in Jacksonville, and we ended up selling it to a hedge fund.
Yeah, absolutely. And we did a good deal. But then I was like, I heard that story from, when you're 15, starting all what you did. And then, now I want to hear this whole Astro Blaster thing. I want to hear all about it. Dude, first of all, I want to say you're impressive. Okay. I'm going to say this out front. You're impressive. What you've done is remarkable for a teenager. It's not impossible, though. That's the thing. Just because you're a teenager doesn't mean you can't do it.
Oh, yeah.
But there are obstacles that you're going to have.
There's so many people smarter than me, like especially in school. I was a senior and I was in chemistry and algebra. Those are like middle school freshman classes. And I kind of even struggled with those. Like,
right.
I don't follow this, like, Asians are supposed to be smart. Well, I'm smart in different ways. I'm smart with business.
Exactly.
I'm just not, like school smart. And like, I don't care about school. Like, I've never used algebra once in my real estate journey. I've never
me either
memorized the periodic table once. So it doesn't matter. Like, why do something when it doesn't actually matter? Like, I like school. Well, like, the only thing good about school is like it builds discipline. Like,
sure,
like that. Like, I cannot disagree. Is like, you build discipline, you build all this stuff from being in school. So like, don't drop school, but know the importance of like what is actually important. I agree with the saying of like the networking there in college is unmatched. I 100% agree. Like, or networking with other business majors. I would agree even more if you're in an Ivy League. But obviously, like the work it takes to get in the Ivy League, unless you're like a natural born prodigy, if you put that work towards building a business, you'd probably be a lot farther ahead. So like, that's my thing. It's like, you've also put a lot of work trying to get in Harvard, but you could probably put the same work doing a business and you'd have a bigger name for yourself and, less expensive.
Well, so, that's the thing is you don't have to have education to be successful. You don't have to have college. I have my master's degree in education. That's what I have.
Oh, really?
And I did it because I was told I needed it, but I realized early on in it, I didn't need it. But what I did need from it was the discipline and the actual completion of it. I needed to complete it because it was something that I personally at the time needed to go through to succeed. And so when I did my undergrad, I made like C average because I was really interested. I was 19, 20 years old. I was really interested in socialization, having fun, doing all this stuff. And so school wasn't exactly what I wanted to do. So I didn't put a lot of effort into it. But when I got into my master's degree, I was nearing 40. And I was like, I've got to do this. I got to do better and I've got to succeed in it. So I got like a 3.9 GPA in my master's degree. It's like I really did well in my master's degree. I was going through a divorce at the same time. So that transition was hard. So that's where I failed a couple classes and I dropped that GPA a little bit. But I finished with much better expectations than I did. Because I finished the way that I finished, then I was like, all right, I can do anything I've set my mind to. And that I believe is a positive for education.
I agree.
But for you don't need it now. You've got a successful business. You've launched an amazing tool for real estate investors. And tell me a little bit about that.
Okay, so let's talk about it. So back last year's summer, I closed my first virtual deal in Tampa, Florida. It was for $5,000. I think it was like $5,000 or $8,000. It was in May of last year, so pretty much a little over a year ago. And it was literally the last day of school. It was like kind of perfect timing. I was like, okay, well, so I just closed my first deal, last day of school. Now I have 90 days ahead of me to do whatever the hell I want. Either I can waste it partying with my friends, or I could use this time wisely, because I knew that when I went back to school, my time would literally be cut into quarters.
Right.
And I called you when we were doing that Jacksonville deal. I called you in like the bathroom stalls, and like I, yeah, I think I called you in the locker room one time. It was wild. But I had to think of like, okay, well, I was an entrepreneur, and like I wanted to do big things. And to do big things, I wanted to do like 5 deals a month. I was like, well, how do I do 5 deals a month? Well, if you're an intermediate wholesale, you would know that, okay, to do 5 deals a month, you have to do a certain amount of text messages. You have to do a certain amount of calls. You have to do a certain amount of offers sent. I broke down all the math. I'm like, okay, well, 5 deals takes 100 conversations a day. And I'm like, well, that might be possible, doing it manually, but I have to work literally from the time I wake up, from the time I go to sleep. I'm like, well, one, that's not sustainable, and two, I don't want to do that. So, and then I was like, okay, if I have to do that in summer, what would happen if I was in school? Well, like ultimately not, like completely impossible. So I'm like, okay, well, how the hell do I do this business? And then I'm thinking, well, I don't have enough money to build a huge team, right? But I did have a lot of, I just asked myself a lot of questions like, can this be automated? Can this be done better? Can this be more efficient? And I found that texting was the most efficient marketing thing right now at the moment.
Yeah.
I mean, high open rates, low cost of delivery, and you can have 100 conversations at the same time. Calling, you have to have one. You can't have 3 conversations at once. You can it's not possible. But I can have 100 text conversations at once, especially with automation. So what I did was, in my own company, so not selling anything, in my own company, I built this, freaking monster of a system, and it was for automating text messages. And I've built this completely automated follow-up system that would pretty much, like, for you, if you did direct to seller, how many times you have to chase the seller still? I mean, so many times. Like, you have to babysit them. And like, if you're doing hundreds and hundreds of sellers, I at one point had to manage like 2,000 realtors, and that would be impossible to do manually. Right. So like, I had to leverage technology, I had to leverage code to be able to have these conversations on my behalf. So like, the manual process is like, okay, if Brian wants to follow up with John, okay, you had a conversation with John and you wanted to follow up with John. Well, you mark John in your calendar, and you wait for that date. And then on that date, you see the task to follow up with John, and then you follow up with John.
Right.
Even though that seems very little, if you do 100 of them, it takes so much time. It takes 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours.
Yeah. Totally.
And I'm like, okay, well, I'm thinking like, okay, well, this is very tedious. I'm like, okay, I can do this a little better. I think I can replicate this. So what I did was I personalized everything. And I found out through my testing is that people actually don't answer on the follow-up. Like, they answer on like the follow-up to the follow-up to the follow-up. They like, for real, they only responded. I actually had some cases where like I had to follow up with a realtor like 8 or 9 times. No response, 0 response. Okay. By the way, this is completely automated. And then on the 9th, like the 9th or 10th one, they would respond with a deal.
Okay.
I was like, okay, cool. Well, because Jamil always says a realtor needs 8 to 13 touches. So yeah, I'm like, okay, well, I would hate to manually follow up with someone 8 to 13 times. That is like teeth pulling. That is, I'm gonna grow.
I would lose interest.
I would lose interest. I don't give a shit if he is. I am not following up with you 13 times. So okay. So I built this whole system, and in August I do 28,000, and then the next month I do a $40,000 deal in Tampa with a hedge fund. Like, okay, well this freaking works. I'm like, okay, cool. This is my secret sauce. And in the astro flipping community, just like you have the sub two community,
Yep.
I posted my win and like, hey, I did this, whatever. And then one guy hits me up and he's like, dude, you're freaking crushing it. How do I want to check out what you're doing. And I'm like, whatever. I have this automated thing. It was like, I wasn't like selling anything. I was just like, hey, this is what I do.
Right.
Me just being as a helpful person and wanting to share. I'm like, okay, let's do a meeting. And I introduced him to the system and I'm, doing my thing. I'm just showing him. I'm literally just showing him what it does and the functionalities. And like, and then he just stops me halfway. And he's like, how much do you want for this? And he thought I was selling him. But I'm like, dude, I'm just showing you what I do. I'm not trying to. And that's one thing when he said that, I'm like, wow. So like, to be a good salesman, you don't
ding,
sell.
ding, 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 ding. Yeah. Light bulb went off.
You just like show them what works. And if it doesn't work, if he was like, no, I'm not interested, why do I care? Like,
right, exactly.
It doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. Like, you lost out because I know it works. I have 100%.
Exactly.
I've done it. So like, if you're not interested, then actually sucks for you.
So what did you tell him when he asked that?
So I was like, I took a pause. I think I recorded this, and it was I think his business partner was on too, and I was thinking, okay, what is the highest price I can think of? And it was $500. And I told him 500, and he was like, okay, let's go, like, let's do it. And I was like, what the hell? Like, this is kind of crazy.
Right.
And then
right.
like, it's like the quickest money I ever made. And like, I didn't know that I was able to sell something like this. I didn't know I was able to sell a system up until this point. So I built it I set it up from in his account. And this is when I had no sales experience, no system building experience. Well, I did have system building experience, but I didn't have experience of like running a SaaS company or like running an agency. So it was very sloppy, but he loved it. He still has it today. He's done over $250,000 with it. Crazy.
Wow. That's awesome.
Freaking crazy. And he crushes it. So next thing I'm like, okay, I like sit back and I'm like, wow. Okay. So then I started thinking, okay, how can I monetize this even further? And how can I help more people? More importantly, how can I help more people? Because I know it worked. Mm-hmm. So I made a post in the community, the Astro community. I'm like, well, hey, I have this system that has generated me so-and-so amount every month. If you want to show up and see how it is, join the Zoom. And 50 people show up. Or like 130 people signed up for the event. I did, there was no email follow-up. There was no SMS follow-up. It was just.
Was it in like Discord?
Literally a Google form. It was literally a Google form.
Yeah.
I think I just emailed out the link. And that was it. I didn't do any email follow-up, no SMS.
Oh my gosh.
50 people showed up for the call. I do my presentation. I didn't even have a Zoom account. I had to borrow someone else's Zoom account. And I do the presentation. And we end up selling, I end up selling like 27 people, do like 28,000 in one day. I'm like, what the hell? Like, what the hell just happened? I call my friends. I'm like, dude,
were you selling it for 500 or were you selling it for?
So at this time I changed my pricing. I'm like, okay, well, I want to, because it requires kind of maintenance to kind of.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, $749 to set it up as a one time, and then a $49 subscription on top of that, just to keep maintenance. Yeah. So again, super cheap. You close one wholesale deal, you make back 10x.
Absolutely. Right.
So, and I sold 25, something like that. I did 28,000 that day. I was freaking wild. And a month after that, I do a total of 50 people. So at this time, I still had my wholesale.
Oh my gosh!
I still had my wholesale company. So like, I was stuck in between, and I had this mastermind coming up with Jamil. And at this time, he knew me as like a young, hustler or whatever, but he didn't know me as the one who created the system and like did all this stuff. And I went to the mastermind, and I perfected the system even further. And let me think. So like I asked him, like, I'm stuck in between these, should I do wholesale? Should I do this business? And wait, hold on. I think I got the storylines messed up, because we started the partnership, and then we did and then we went to the mastermind. So people started having success with the system.
Okay.
And it started creating a lot of buzz, because Jamil holds these live calls with his community, these group calls, like hundreds of people.
Right.
And like pretty much he starts getting like, hey, like when they ask questions on the call, they're like, hey, I use Andy system for this. And like, what is Andy system? And then he's like, whatever. Dude, Jamil gets dozens of property tech companies that hit him up.
Right.
I mean, the ones that spend millions of dollars on development. And like Jamil turns them down. Why? Because, well, you don't have something that actually works. Like I can say with full conviction that my thing works.
I love
because it actually works. So what happened was, what kind of like what was a nail in the coffin was one of his friends. Her name is Marilyn Savage, and Marilyn Savage hits up Jamil, and she's like, Andy's system is what? It's crazy. And if you don't fly to Houston right now and shake his hand, become business partners with him, you are out of your mind.
That's awesome.
So then he was like, okay, all right.
So he did.
So he didn't fly over here. It wasn't that crazy, but he told his assistant at the time to book a meeting with me. We do the meeting, and I'm worried, because I didn't know, like, when someone that high up books a one-on-one meeting with you,
right?
I don't know what was gonna happen. Like, is it like it was? I didn't know. I was totally like there was no context to it, no context. It was just, I want a meeting with you.
Wow.
So, okay, take the meeting, and he's like, hey, so what is going on here? If it's something malicious, if it's something that's scammy, I'm gonna have to shut it down and prevent you from selling, because I was selling to his community.
Yeah, I mean, of course. Yeah.
It made total sense. And I was like, oh shit, okay. He had high expectations, because again, he gets hit up so many times. And I show him, like, here, this is what it does. This is how it's helped people. This is the success it's generated for people. And he was like, okay, boom, let's start a partnership. And I was like, oh.
So he didn't see it scammy. He's like, dude, this is it. This is like, legit.
Let's go. And we start the partnership, and right after like end of that meeting, I just total silence. I just started yelling in my room in excitement. I was like, I am partners with Jamil Damji. And it still is kind of baffling today, because like I would never think a year ago I'd be business partners with someone like that.
Yeah.
It's actually very crazy.
Yeah.
So it gets even crazier. The story gets even crazier.
Oh, I love it. Keep on. Bring it.
There's some parts that I don't know if I can disclose, but
sure. Disclose what you can. Don't do what you can't.
Okay.
But this is an amazing story, and I love it.
Yeah. So we do a webinar, and I'm working day in and day out. I'm planning this webinar, making sure everything is right, making sure it's all optimized, and making sure our landing pages work and all this stuff. And one thing I overlooked was customer support.
Okay.
Because I didn't have any team. So like before the webinar, it was our mastermind. It was February 19th, which was our mastermind, and I was a speaker. I did a presentation over productivity and time management. And at the end, I'm like, here's the real secret. Fuck all the time management tips I talked about. Fuck everything I talked about. What really makes me someone who has so much output is because, and I do a drum roll, and then I'm like, Astro Blaster. And then Jamil comes in, we do this amazing pitch, and then like, for today, first special launch, everyone gets 20% off, and everyone in the room signed up. It was 30 people. Every single person in the room signed up. And our pricing at this point was $1,000 for one time, and a $97 a month subscription on top of that.
There you go. So, okay. Again, still exactly, still great price.
And it was 20% off for everyone there because they're a mastermind, and it was, you know, it was pre-launch. Again, I am one-man team right now. Jamil doesn't know anything about tech side, so like I am pretty much everything on the back end. I am managing over 80 people right now by myself. Next day, I fly back from Phoenix, and I go back to Houston, and we have a webinar in like a couple hours. I go to my friend's office. I didn't have an office at the time, and I didn't want to do it at home. So I went to his office. You know, it's like really high building. And you know, I do my presentation, I do my thing. I show the system. 1,000 people showed up, by the way. 1,000 freaking people. Energy was amazing. It was not even planned that way. Like there was no like structure for the call. It was just like, Andy, do your thing, and you know, we'll see what happens. And then we close. This is the crazy part. After I do my little thing, my presentation segment of it, I open my phone and I check how much payments we process, and we processed $130,000 in the first hour. And I still had to keep my composure during that presentation, so I couldn't be like, you know, I had to be like, you know, I had to still, you know, keep composure. So I was like, oh shit. So we do it, and then after sales were still going, and I sleep with, we close out the day with almost $1/3 I think a little over $1/3. It was bonkers. It was out of my mind.
Wow.
One key thing was like, when 300 people sign up and they all require onboarding, and you have no team and no SOPs and nothing, you're pretty much fucked.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
So I stayed to the office probably till 12 a.m. in the morning. It was just, I mean, like my phone, it would not stop ringing. Like emails, phone calls, text messages, blowing me up. Absolutely blowing. It was freaking wild. And I was like, I have to hire someone. So I hired my first guy, and he helped me. And you know, I didn't have any formal training. I didn't have any nothing. I was just like, dude, this is what it is. Quick onboarding video, and like, this is just help. I just need help. And he was like, okay, got you. He's still on our team today, and he's a manager now, and I love him to death. And after that, I think next mastermind, was it that next mastermind? Or no, so at that mastermind where I pitched the thing, Pace Morgan was there, and he kind of like was after my pitch, and Jamil told him all about it, and Pace was like, or Jamil started talking to Pace, and Jamil out of nowhere says, guess who's an affiliate now? Pace Morby. I'm like, oh my gosh, Pace Morby is now an affiliate.
That's awesome.
A month later, we do a webinar with Pace, and 5,000 people show up. And I'm not gonna get on the math, but just thinking about it,
yeah,
was
ridiculous,
wild.
bonkers.
It was one weekend, and it was out of this world. It was crazy, and we're totally not prepared for it. We were totally not prepared for it. I did not know the amount of people Pace was going to bring, and it shut us down. It literally shut us down. No, we're not good. You know, we're good now. And,
yeah. What's your team? What kind of a team do you have now?
It's very virtual. So all of it's virtual. I don't have an in-house. I have an executive assistant that helps me, you know, move things around, but everything is, half our team is in the Philippines, half our team's in Pakistan.
Okay. You know, so they're virtual assistants.
Yeah.
Perfect. That's awesome, man. Yeah,
it's and it's only gonna get better from here. And it's crazy how that
absolutely
a year ago. That was only a year ago.
Yeah.
And one really important thing I just like learned from all this is like, when you actually provide value to society, like really provide value, you will get in return what you put out.
I 1,000% agree. You know, and that's the thing, is like, that's what I want to do with this, is you coming on and just being gracious to come on and tell us your story and tell us this amazing, inspiring story is just amazing. And it's going to come back to you 100-fold. Sure. And that's what I want to do with this. If I help people, that's what I want to do. I'm training some people right now how to dig for leads in public record instead of buying leads. They can't afford it. Okay, well, here's a free way to do it, right? I'm giving it to them.
The county.
I'm giving it to them. Yeah. Go into county public records. This is how you do it. This is what you do. This is exactly how it's done. Boom, 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 and go. They're getting excited. They're getting fired up. It's nowhere near what you've done, but I love helping people. I love helping people. And so, what you're doing is I had a 19-year-old here in Jacksonville that was on that I did an interview with, and he's
the Remy.
Remy. Yep.
Remy is such
I love Remy.
He crushes it. He's freaking killer.
He is killing it, but he also has a huge heart and he wants to help. And so he said some really good things. And I want more young people to come in and say, look, this is what I'm going to do. I have a desire to do something big, make a lot of money, make a big difference, because that's what your generation wants. You want to make a big difference. You see a lot of craziness going on with the older generations, and you're like, hey, let's make a difference in this world now. And that's what you're doing. That's exactly what you two are doing. If you could tell anybody 15 to 25, what would your advice be to do with their life? My son is 23. I'd love for my son to watch this.
I have tried a lot of things in my life, and that keeps changing.
Okay.
Ended up being this. I never knew I was going to be a software guy.
Yeah.
My life. What I thought I would be real estate. So I say, teenagers are still very young. And even though I'm saying this as 18, but I've tried many things. I've been a cashier. I've done pallet flipping. I've done so many businesses, and I've only found out the business that works is when I've just tried everything. And my best piece of advice is just try everything. Try everything. Everyone's different. Everyone has a different personality. Everyone has a different way of working.
Absolutely.
So Brian, maybe one day you start finding huge passion in lawn care. You end up making these TikTok videos. There's one guy on TikTok that makes it's on lawn care, and he crushes it. No one you don't know what. I mean, you could say you want to do this, but until you do it and you realize, oh man, this is really not for me.
Yeah.
You try everything, and then you can make a more informed decision on what you want to do in life. I would say just try everything, especially because we're young. Most millionaires are. The average age of a millionaire is 50 something, and the average billionaire is in their 60s, and the first million, by the most wealthiest people, the first million they make is in the 30s. So don't feel oh, Andy's 18 and he's had all this success and he's ahead of me. No, we're in the same race. It's just
absolutely
I just got there a little faster. But your race, you could beat me.
That's right. That's right.
It's your own journey. Do not one thing is don't compare yourself to
absolutely others. Age means nothing. It's all about passion and actually doing something.
Yeah.
Getting out there and doing it. I like what you said. Try everything. If it doesn't work, move to the next thing, but make sure you're always trying.
Yeah. So if you have found the thing you're going to do, if you have found it, find someone who's already good at it, that is excelling at it, and pay for their time to learn all the mistakes they've went through. That will give you a huge fast track. Okay. If I were to say again, I would pay Jamil directly again, and I'll tell him hey, you need to teach me everything.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do the same thing I did, because if I were to do it again, I would pay the guys that know it the best or experts at it, and I would just pay them for their time.
There you go.
That's how I'd fast track everything.
That's investment. That's exactly what investment is. So you invested in it, and look at what you did. Your return on investment is 1,000 times what you put into it.
Yeah.
More than that. And it's going to continue to grow. So we're going to see you as the billionaire in your 20s, obviously, just because you're going to continue to do what you do, and you're going to continue to grow in what you're doing. And so it's we're just going to see you thrive more and more as you grow and get better at what you do. So that's really awesome.
It's all about your skill sets and just how you handle things and all that stuff. And it's why a billionaire can lose all its money, all their money, and build it back up in a matter of months, years,
that's right.
because they have the skill set. Because like someone that works at McDonald's, I'm not saying that it's low, like they're lower people, but I'm saying like someone at McDonald's can't just build a billion-dollar company. They don't know how to do it. They don't know the parts of HR. They don't know the parts of IT and like the parts of sales and marketing, all that stuff. But a billionaire does. A billionaire understands he's like the back of his hand, So
Absolutely.
Like invest everything in your skill set, just so you can become a more valuable person in society, and that's how you make money. Is like increase your skill sets, and you'll be able to provide more value.
So, what would you say to real estate investors, young, new real estate investors getting in? You've already said pay some money, but what else? What's another thing that you would say would get them to their first deal quicker?
Oh, okay. A lot of people, what I see was like, well, just going a quick story. A lot of people in my school like see my success, and like I don't like really talk about it. I know I don't like talking about my, because like it doesn't translate right to them. They don't
Right.
understand
I
what the
understand
hell.
that. I
So it's
understand
like,
that.
so I see so many people come and go. And like, if you're a teenager, you might be highly ambitious, like, I want to make this money, I want to make this money. But like, you have to understand, like, it's not about the money. It's about creating a business. Because if you're out here just chasing your first deal, then you get the first deal, but you didn't build a business. Like you maybe made that money, but you didn't build a business. You don't have processes. You don't have a system. You don't have a team.
I
You may have
love
closed
that.
the first deal, and like, but like you need to get out that mindset of like, I need to close my first deal. No, you need to build a business. That's why you're here, right? Is to
Yeah.
build it. So
Yeah.
like, let's get out that mindset of I need my first deal. No. It's gonna put you in the wrong state. So another thing is like, I was again at those masterminds, like my latest one, and a good, like I met him, and his name's Luke, and he didn't close his first deal. He hasn't closed his first deal yet. And he asked me like, dude, how I've been struggling so much, and I haven't been closing my first deal. I'm like, I'm really struggling here. And he was like, what piece of advice can you give me? And I was like, dude, this was the biggest thing that was extremely pivotal in my business. And it was focusing on inputs. And what I mean by inputs, it's like, how many offers do you make a day? How many conversations do you have a day? Anything other than that does not freaking matter. Because I don't care what you did all day. If you didn't do these two things and you didn't hit your KPIs for them, well, then that's why your business isn't growing, is
There
because
you go.
you did the busy and not the productive.
That's
There's a
good,
difference
man.
between
Goodness gracious.
busy and productive. A lot of people are busy and not actually productive. And like, it's the conversations and offers are unsexy and mundane.
Yes, you're right.
But that's what sets us business owners apart, because we love the boring. You and me love, we find the sexy.
This is what we do.
Find the boring so sexy. And,
Absolutely.
and again, people who just chase that first deal don't find that sexy.
That's good, man. I mean, and you of all people, being in school, having to go into the locker room or the bathroom, take a bathroom break, all these kind of things. You didn't have time to be busy. You had time to be productive. You
I
needed
could
to be
not,
productive.
even if I wanted to, I couldn't F around with my friends. I I could not do that.
No.
I could not. I had, like, I was like, okay, during like lunch period, I could have went out with my friends to go eat Jimmy John's or go eat whatever and go have lunch with them. Now, I also, on another note, I understand that like high school, social life. I still maintain a social life. You don't have to be an absolute workaholic.
Right.
Like, definitely have a social life. You're still young, so
Right. Keep it balanced.
yeah, keep it balanced, and you can have a balance. Like, people need to understand, you can balance health, wealth, and happiness. Like, you
Yep.
don't have to be all, only make money, only make money. You can still have a great life.
Yeah.
Like, the reason why is because you just don't know how to allocate your time properly, and you don't know how to time manage. But that's just your fault. And going back to it, so I was in the locker room, and I brought my laptop and the cafeteria lunch, or the food I brought from home, and I ate it there in the locker room on that bench. And I cold called hedge funds all day, every day in that locker room. And in the middle of it, you know, the basketball boys will come super rowdy, come in and like, oh, and I'm just in the back. I am in the locker rooms calm. And it was the only place because everyone was in the cafeteria, everyone was in the hallway, so I couldn't have a quiet place. And the only quiet place, and it wasn't the library either, because the library I couldn't call. She wouldn't let me
Because you
call.
had to be quiet, right?
I had
Exactly.
to be quiet. Like the only time I'd go in the library is if I do like admin stuff. But the locker room was only place. So
Yeah.
it was only kind of safe spot in school. So the locker room. And that's where I got stuff done. And like, and people may be like, oh, that's the kind of cringy, that's like weird. Why are you working in the locker room? Well, this is why I'm here now, because I did the cringy stuff. I did the cringy.
That's right. So you did the stuff that you didn't want to do, things that are not fun, the things that are not cool and popular. Because in high school, that's what people are looking for, right?
Yeah.
To fit in and be cool and popular. And you were the guy that was like, some people probably thought you were weird because you were doing that. But at the same time,
why the hell are you eating in a locker room on your calling people?
because I'm making millions of dollars.
I thought if I saw that line, I'd be like, that guy's crazy, dude. What are you doing?
Yeah. Man, you're 18 years old. You graduate this year?
I just graduated this year. Yes.
Okay, you're done. You graduated in 2023.
I am completely done.
Okay. I lost track of time, but I knew you were like about to graduate if you're not graduated already. But so you're out of school now. Now you're full time doing this thing. Wait, at 18 years old, you have such wisdom, Andy. I'm sitting here. I'm 48 years old. I'm learning so much from you, and that's the thing. It's like you're humble. You want to help people, and you've got this mindset that is just unshakable, which is it's awesome. Mindset's everything. If you don't have a proper mindset, man, you're just not going to do it. What's next for Andy Rong? What's next for you?
Continue building Astro Blaster and growing the user base and training and hiring better people, and just building an empire there, and then exiting in a couple of years.
Yeah,
that's my. And then build I bought a home in Atlanta. That's an Airbnb. Also, I'm trying to build a big portfolio. I want to own some multifamily soon. And yeah, that's the plan right now. And then also to get my real estate wholesaling back up, because it's dead in the water, because I focus all my time into real estate wholesaling. And like, I was faced with either I am 50-50 between two companies, or I'm going to be 100% in one company.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I think for the people that think like, oh, I need 7 businesses to become a millionaire, or like, I need multiple businesses. No, you don't. No. You just need to focus on one thing and get really good at that one thing, and explode that one thing. Because if I did this right now, and I told you to focus on one, could you focus on one? No. Because I'm hooking up 2 things.
Right.
Like, you'll be 50-50, you'll be split. So like, the competitor that is 100% focusing on one will beat you every single time, because you're split 2 ways.
That's right.
So and like, you can't be a millionaire being a forex trader, a drop shipper, a wholesaler, a software guy. You can't.
No, you can make 6 figures.
You can,
but
maybe that alone is impressive. Like, it's off to you, because that is crazy.
Right.
It's a lot easier. Yeah, because the business skills and everything you have in one business, building it really high, helps you in building the other businesses. So like, now when I go back into wholesale, I have lived so many wholesale experiences. I have heard so many stories now. I have helped so many wholesalers that I know.
Right.
I know exactly how to build a wholesale business now. Like, I know how to. I think wholesaling is so easy.
Yeah. So I'm glad you said that, because it kind of, we're going to close it out, because I know you have time. You've got to get back to your business, building your empire. How can somebody do a deal with Andy? Like, bring you a deal, JV with you, get you back into wholesaling, making it easy. You're going to scale that bigger than anything. How can anybody deal with you? And what I'm going to do is drop it below and make sure they can jump in with you.
Instagram. I'm trying to grow my brand right now.
Okay.
Personal brand. So official Andy Rong is my Instagram handle, and message me there and I'll be available. And That's how you reach out to me.
Very cool. And then Astro Blaster, I'm going to put that in there. I'd like to know more about that, obviously, because shoot, why not? I need to figure out how to do better automation with text. So that is astroblaster.com.
The astroblaster.com.
Okay.
It's not astroblaster.com. We're
so
trying to
the astroblaster.com.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, awesome, man. I appreciate your time. This has just been mind blowing. Your story is mind blowing. And I hope that the world sees this, hears this, and everything that you do. Man, I just wish you the best success, more and more success. And you're going to continue to help people. And I love it, man. I appreciate you.
And hopefully, next year I'll have even more stories to tell.
Oh, man, we'll do it again. We'll definitely have you on again for sure.
All right.
Thank you for tuning into this episode. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed giving it. Looking forward to seeing you next week.